Hey, what's going on? This is episode 103. That was the King of Pop, Michael Jackson, 63rd birthday. I mean, what a career, what a legacy to leave. You know, the ending years of that man's life were a lot, but he was on his way back, and then he was gone. Shocked the world, shocked me, shocked everybody, I know, because that day was a very sad day, a very crazy day. You know, the internet stopped. I'm a big Michael Jackson fan, I can say that. You know, I feel like he definitely was chasing Thriller for a long time, you know, chasing success instead of just easing into different genres and whatnot. But, you know, there's no one that did what he did. There's no one who became as famous as he became. Around the world, people knew Michael Jackson. You know, he became the most famous man in the world, or famous person in the world, in the span of 10 years, selling millions and millions of records a month. I mean, when Thriller came out, he was selling millions of records a month, not streaming. This is where people went out, spent $15, $20 on a record. You know, you had to go buy a record player if you didn't have it. A one, you know. And they were spending $15, $20, $25. Who knows where you were? If you lived in a place where they didn't have, you know, the record, you were importing it. You know, I wasn't there, but, you know, there's a documentary that, The Detail, which is it's kind of like a Michael Jackson, I guess, news channel or a source or something. They used to be a news channel, period, where they talk about different things around the world or different entertainment things around the world and whatnot. And they used to go into different topics with it. But I guess the Jacksons bought it or something because they just became a straight up Michael Jackson channel. And they put out this documentary where they document from the 1980s to the 1990s where Michael Jackson's rise to the King of Pop. It's just so well documented. You know, it's kind of like where, you know, we see Beyoncé, you know. We grew up kind of like with Beyoncé. And we saw how she became Beyoncé, you know. Not just, you know, say my name, say my name. This documentary, you get to see him morph into what he's remembered as. I definitely think you should check it out if you have a chance. It's on YouTube. The YouTube channel is The Detail. I don't remember the name of the actual show, but like I said, they just do solely Michael Jackson, and it's about an hour and 40 minutes, hour 20 minutes. You know, it's really riveting to see how he went from a very famous black man to the most famous person in the world. And around the world he was at, you know. Even when racism was what it was, Michael Jackson was breaking down those walls. Even while, you know, his skin, vitiligo, you know, and I think, you know, there were many other things going on, was changing. He was still a black man changing around the world. And he talked about his blackness now. You know, that's one thing that you can't take away from Michael Jackson is that he talked about his blackness. He talked about police and police reform, how it's needed, you know. So that's one thing you can never take away from that man. And I do believe that, you know, there's my little cousin. He loves Michael Jackson. He dances like him. He's what is he, 6? He studies YouTube. Like, this is like, back in the day, I had tapes. I had my VHS tapes, you know, on the VCR. which is how I saw Michael Jackson. I would rewind and pop tapes and be upset and have to make sure that I cleaned the tapes right. But that's how I saw Michael Jackson. Now he gets to see it on YouTube, and I mean, there's so much footage. YouTube and the internet is just, it's a distraction, but at the same point, wow, what you get to actually see. I took myself out on a self date. I was supposed to photograph someone, and they had an issue with their car. So I said, you know what? I don't care. Let me take myself out. It wasn't going to be like a big photo shoot or nothing like that. It was just, just to own up my skills, do my photography thing, get have a little fun with it. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to the range. And by the range, I mean the gun range. As I do say in the show, or have talked about in the show, I am a Second Amendment supporter. And I think that, Black people, we need to train ourselves and learn about guns. There's nothing scary about it, as long as you're doing the right thing, and things can happen, misfires can happen, or, guns can go off. But you just have to practice safety, instead of just being, I'm afraid of it, but, I think it's a good thing to learn, the fact that in several states, you could be 12 years old and have a hunting license. You got to think about that, So I took myself out. I took my 380, my Taurus 380, and I'm gonna have my YouTube channel where I actually talk about guns and practicing safety of, especially with legal guns. You should only have a legal gun. And how to, the importance of having the correct morals with guns. You shouldn't have a gun to kill people. You should be having a gun to defend yourself if something's going on, or to get away from something, not to kill people. But I do, I don't know everything about guns. I go to a gun range, and there's a guy there. His name is Robbie. Very nice guy. He told me he doesn't even know how many guns he has. And a lot of the guys there, they just have so many guns. And Robbie's a white guy, and then there's just another guy that I've only talked to twice. I haven't learned his name yet, but he just told me yesterday he has 19 guns. He was trying to sell me a sight, but I don't have what he has. I'm a 22 kind of guy. But Robbie, he helps me with my sights, and I had brought my 22 rifle in one time and had a new sight, and he really got it together. Because I'm a pretty good shot, not just trying to say that, but I'm a pretty good shot. But I still have things to learn, and that's why I'm happy to go to Stoddards and learn things. And I'm hoping that someone gets me a membership there, because memberships are not cheap there. But I think it's worth it 100% to go and definitely train and definitely be familiar, because you never know, what could happen, home invasion, whatnot. It's good to protect yourself and protect your home, protect your castle, and you can own a gun. And a lot of every state you can own a gun. There's not one state that you can't own a gun in America. So. And just for instance, just so you know, the first time I ever got my gun license, it was $5 to get it in New Jersey. And I paid $60 to do my fingerprints. That was it. Then I was able to buy a pistol every 90 days, I believe, and then unlimited rifles and shotguns. There are people out there doing that, people. That's why I'm telling you about it. So stop thinking you're the only one, or you're afraid, I don't want to be known as this. No, listen, One thing I'll tell you is that Asian people love guns. When I've been to the range, I've seen a lot of Asian people, and they have some fangs. You will see some small Asian people. Not every Asian person is small, but I've seen some small Asian people with some very large fangs. So don't get it twisted with who and who does not have guns. Because it ain't just black people, it ain't just white people. Many people have guns in this country. And in Georgia, I kind of treat it as everyone has a gun in this state. So I took myself out, and it was really there, not like a full date, which I've gone on before. Like, I recently went and saw Candyman, which was amazing. A great restart to a great series, or what could be a really great series, a great new series. And I thought that it was like I said, a great restart. I think that having a black female director, Nia DaCosta, is amazing. Praise to her. I know it was #1 this weekend. But I think it's important to take yourself out, because in this moment, I could have just been like, oh, well, all right. I got ready, waited for my friend to come along, and they didn't come, and I could sulk or go and stream something. But I said, let me go out. Let me get some air. And I did, and it felt good. It felt really, really good. Especially going to do something you like, one of your hobbies. But Robbie, he's so good, and he definitely teaches me a lot. And I was happy to see him again. There are some people out there. He's told me that he's never been in the military, nothing. There are people out there who, like him, I'm like, so you're just a wild man, one of those guys that you want on your team. I definitely don't want to ever be across from Robbie. Never, ever shall I be across from him. Speaking of being across from people, I wonder what the Israeli prime minister was thinking when Joe Biden fell asleep on him. What do you think he was thinking? Here's this guy, and this poor guy, he's really trying to help Joe Biden out by talking over him, or talking in a way where he's hoping that, no one's paying attention to him. But there's no way to not see that Joe Biden drifted off. There's no way to not see that Sleepy Joe strikes again. If there's one thing you got to say that Trump, had a nickname that was right, it was this one. On my Instagram, which I hope you guys can check out, it's called I've Got Questions Man, MAN. Someone had the I've Got Questions. They're probably doing nothing with it. Or they could be, who knows? But I've got more questions than them, obviously. And, man. And here's a little listen to as Joe Biden and the Prime Minister are barely interacting.
For so many years. So, Mr. President, today you and I, and you've been so generous with your time in these difficult days, you and I are going to write yet another chapter in the beautiful story of the friendship between our two nations, the United States of America and the Jewish and Democratic State of Israel.
So you got to see this clip, and it's on, like I said, I've Got Questions Man, MAN, IVE, Got Questions Man. This guy, he's not talking in like a, I don't think that he had a cadence of making you tired, while speaking. I think that, it maybe the room was really warm. Maybe he felt he needed a blanket, Joe. Maybe they just had a lunch. I don't know what it was. But for you to spend probably 20, 30 minutes with a prime minister from Israel who had to fly there, and for you to go to sleep. This is who's behind the wheel, guys. You know, listen, anyone but Trump, okay? Well, not anyone, because definitely not Kanye. But this is who's behind the wheel. You know, we've got a lot of things going on in this world, and Joe Biden's falling asleep right on TV. You know, it's not even the fact that he fell asleep during a meeting. He fell asleep during a meeting on TV that's being spun around the world. You know, this is our world leader. Beyonce is in trouble, or is being talked about. You know, Beyonce hates it when negative press is going on about her. And she's really upset lately. There's a diamond that she wore that was a part of a Tiffany's diamond ad campaign. And apparently it's a blood diamond. It's the infamous 128.54 carat yellow Tiffany diamond that she wears on an ad with her husband, where she's in front of a Basquiat's painting, who's critically acclaimed and a black painter that you should all check out. This diamond that she's worn, which has apparently been only worn by 4 people, Beyonce is one of the 4. And if you hear that, ladies and gentlemen, that is the background of Hurricane Ida. She is coming down. She is here. This blood diamond, apparently Beyonce's team did not do enough work. You know, Beyonce has people who make sure that she is perfect, that the pictures that they put out, her interviews are always perfect. You know, she controls a lot of what goes on with her image, I should say. And for this to come out, or for this to happen, you know, you got to wonder who dropped the ball. Because this doesn't happen with Beyonce. You know, her image is everything to her. And for this to happen, someone's got to go, right? The worst thing is about this whole thing is that her mama, Miss Tina Knowles, Cruella de Vil herself, I'm kidding, gets on the internet and starts defending her daughter. Now, I've got to read what is on Miss Knowles' Instagram, or her Twitter, I believe. No, this is her Instagram. How many of you socially conscious activists own diamonds? I thought so. Well, guess what? Did you go to try to check to see where the diamond came from? Probably not. So when you guys get engaged, you want to have a diamond, you're going to put on a sterling silver band, and you better check out where it came from and the origin of where it came from. And while you at it, check out the calls for the leather that you weird, because they made it came from another country to ban and not buy diamonds, right? Because you're righteous. Now, the one thing is about Beyonce, she doesn't do a lot of interviews because they say she can't talk. If that was any indication of what Beyonce would have said when speaking about this, I'm happy she didn't speak about it. But what I feel like is that her mom getting on the internet and going in on the internet and saying, how many of you socially conscious activists own diamonds? Is that where you want to start with, lady? You think that people criticizing your daughter is bad, but you think that talking from the mountaintop is better? I mean, all around it looks bad, right? I mean, your mama shouldn't be on it. You're 40 years old, Beyonce. Why is your mama talking for you? Why do your fans do what they do when people do something towards Beyonce? I love Beyonce. I think she's the greatest entertainer of our time. I do love her. I definitely think that she is the greatest entertainer of our time. But I don't like when she's quiet on certain subjects. I think that when she finally talked about Black Lives Matter and she, Formation came out, that's when I fell in love with Beyonce. Because I was like, wow, she finally said something. And not that her music beforehand wasn't great, but I needed her to say something. And I feel like Formation was kind of like her Rhythm Nation. Janet Jackson finally, said something, and the world paid attention. Lil Nas X. I mean, I think that he's an artist that doesn't get a lot of the recognition that he deserves, especially from the Black community, especially from the gay Black community. So he put out some shoes a few months back that allegedly had a drop of blood, and everyone was inflamed, everyone burned up, everyone lost their minds. They spoke about how he was pushing homophobia with his song Montero, and how, what about the kids? The children are being affected. He was turning people gay by kissing a dancer on the BET Awards. How could someone so small have so much power? What is it that people think when they see two men kissing that people turn gay? What is that? Is that like a fairy dust? Or you think there's some kind of waves that turn on all of a sudden that if your man or your friend sees or your son sees two men kissing, that I'm going to want to do that? What is that? I can't really get it. When he put out these sneakers that were supposed to come out, there was a whole huge controversy about it. Lil Nas X's sneakers, which there were 666 versions of them that came out, they were immediately banned and destroyed by Nike. Tony Hawk puts out a skateboard with blood in it, and no one's batting an eye. There's no outrage. There's nothing going on. No one's calling for satanic investigations. There's nothing going on. But when Lil Nas X puts out something, they call it everything in the world. And you can't say that it's not because he's gay. I feel like, especially in the Black community, we're wasting our time with hating on people or having an issue with people because of their sexual orientation. I've said already, we only are 13% of the population. We are wasting our time with division. We can't live with division anymore. There's no room for it. We have no time. This weekend I saw Young Miami and whoever else grinding on each other. Why is that allowed? Why is it that Black women can be curious, but Black men have to stay as some status quo that they weren't even a part of, that they're told who to be? Black men are not allowed to be whoever they want to be. Do you realize that? They're kept in a box. They're told how to be, how their hair should be, what's masculine, what's not masculine. And if you're not masculine, this is who you are. 43% of boys are raised by single mothers. 78% of teachers are female. So almost 50% of boys have 100% feminine influences, while at home, or an 8 in 10-ish chance of 100% influence at school. This is put up by some lady called Miss Stir. who says toxic masculinity isn't the problem, lack of masculinity is. And I'm just still wondering, when are we going to give up this notion of what is or what isn't masculine? Why are we so worried about who is or who is not masculine? Isn't it what someone brings to the table? If you had a completely feminine scientist who was able to cure cancer, wouldn't you want him there? It's about what people can do. You got people wasting time worrying about who they are, and they never become anything. You got people afraid of who they could become, and they become something that they never should have been. Go to places where they never should have been at. Hang out with people that they should have never been around. Because we want masculinity. What has masculinity done for this world? I don't believe that any president should be a man. I said that with the election going on. I wanted Elizabeth Warren to win. But like I said, anyone but Trump, except for Kanye. What will it take for this masculinity topic to go away so we can let young boys be young boys, especially in the black community? We're already seen as Hillary Clinton said back in the day, which I found out later, much in my life, that we were super predators. We already have to worry about law and order. So why in our own community do we worry about masculinity instead of raising people to be the best? We let black women be curious as hell. I've met couples where my friend is, the guy, and he's married to a female, and we get to talking about different things in life, and he'll tell me how he's been curious. And he's in a marriage for years upon years. How do you live in a marriage for years upon years and you can't even be yourself? Meanwhile, his wife is allowed to be herself. Kissing, dancing on women, ha ha ha, we're drunk. But he's on Pornhub in the bathroom. You know the sound when it comes on. Luckily he has the headphones. But why can't men, especially black men, just be men? Just be boys? Why are we trying to raise people to be some ideal that's from a movie or a TV show, some idea that we've had where you can't be in a ballet but also chop wood? A lot of people would think I'm a very confusing unicorn. I like a lot of different things and then also like a lot of different things. I started this show because I wanted to inform people that black men were not monolithic, that we were a multitude of things, that we could be multifaceted, that we're not just whatever you think. But that's usually the image that's pushed around. And we ask people to not push that image, and they tell us to stop complaining. So we have to do it ourselves. If you're black. And if you're not black, help us. Bring up the conversation. If we don't bring up conversations, we stay the same forever. Is that what we want? Is that what you want your children to be like? Hateful? To know that that came from you? There's got to be a point in time where we decide that love is first. And that we don't need to dictate who people need to be. And that when people say they want to be known as this, that we don't have such a problem with it. And that we don't go into, now the B's are married to the B's, and the Q's are married to the Q's, and we start, there's just too much. I wish it was back in the day where things were just more simple, where you didn't have to use your brain. That's what you want? You just don't want to think about nothing? You don't want to have to think about nothing, so the next person's feelings don't matter. What does that make you? You think you get to the pearly gates and that you're going to just walk in? No. You're judging people. That's not how you do it. You've got to get to a place where love is first. Stop the hate. Speaking of hate, Sirhan is going to be free. If you don't know who Sirhan is, it's probably because you shouldn't. And if you did know, it's probably because he's coming to murder you. Sirhan is the man who killed Robert F. Kennedy. A lot of you people are like, who the hell is Robert F. Kennedy? You know the Kennedys. But I bring him up because he's 77 years old, and after 52 years of being in jail, he's getting out. I mean, two of his sons, the Kennedy sons, they supported him getting out. I mean, with a name like Sirhan, you've got to be a murderer, right? You can't be, what can you be? You can't work kids' parties. Sirhan, nah. You got to be a spy. You got to be a 007. You got to be something. You got to be someone that the government wants to hire to go and take people out, or whoever. I'm not saying the government did it, but I'm just saying. Erika Jayne, you know who she is? I watched The Real Housewives, and I'm not going to lie about it. I'm going to tell you, like I said, black men are multifaceted. I like guns, and I like The Real Housewives. Yes. You could never imagine. Erika Jayne is being sued for $25 million. If you don't know who this lady is, she's on The Real Housewives. She's a person who brags about, she's on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She brags about being rich. She has a song where she brags about being expensive. I think she has a pretty interesting personality. She's pretty laughable. She makes fun of things, and she's got a hard personality, but funny at the same time. But her husband, who's 82 years old, something like that, he's being accused. He's a lawyer. He's being accused of stealing money from victims. There was one victim who got $16 million in a payout, and the victim was burned, I guess, head to toe. Tom got $16 million. Well, no, sorry. Tom got $15 million, and the victim got $1 million. A lot of people are talking about how the victims of these crimes have, suffered, while Erika Jayne spends $40,000 a month on hair and makeup, which she's talked about. She was on the Wendy Williams show. She talked about it. That's how I learned about her. I never watched Beverly Hills until Garcelle got on the show. I pretty much watched the people of color on Real Housewives. But because a lot of the other ones I can't really relate to, I'll say. So this lady, Erika Jayne, like I said, she's being sued for $25 million. This is not the first Real Housewife that has been sued or has gone to jail or has been alleged of stealing. There's a lady named Jen Shah who's on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. She's also been accused of stealing from elderly people through a telephone Ponzi scheme, where the people who call you and they're like, "I'm Ron," and then they do a whole little thing and then they forward you to someone and then the person's from a different country or whatever. Yeah, that was her. She was doing a lot of that, allegedly. And now you have Erika Jayne. There was the Teresa back in the day. She went to jail. There's been a few Real Housewives. Well, is the Real Housewives of everything showing us what America is? You know, a lot of criminals, some good people, some bad people. I think it's a pretty clear description of what goes on in America, right? I mean, you gotta look at a person who comes on TV every week and brags about having $40,000 to spend on hair and makeup. You gotta wonder how, right? Because she said she doesn't know how her husband got the money. You know, she never asked questions. She never saw the books. She never saw nothing. And it's the greatest defense to do, right? Because you don't admit that you know anything. And she divorced the guy as soon as it happened, just to get away. And a lot of her castmates, they actually feel that, you know, she had to know something. I think she knew something. I don't think there's any way in the world that you stay married to someone for 20 years and you don't know that they're stealing millions of dollars when they're not winning that many cases. But you got to give it up to reality TV, right? Like, I actually like reality TV just as a way to just relax and take my mind off things. Pretty much to stupefy myself for just a moment. It's a place where you don't have to think, because they're doing all the terrible thinking for you. I mean, if it wasn't for like people like New York and a lot of the like Anna Nicole's and you know, I especially want to say New York because that lady does not get the recognition she deserves. New York brought people to TV because people weren't doing TV. You see these actresses now, or people running to TV or Netflix and doing all these shows now. But people were not watching TV, and TV was always thought as the last thing you do as a celebrity or a star, a movie star. Now everyone's on TV. You know, now you're streaming and you're binging, and now you need to get on TV. I feel like people like New York, who's been on several different shows, they really provided a space for Black women to do more than, you know, what was going on. You know, I get to see like Married to Medicine. I actually like that show. You know, I like seeing Black doctors, Black female doctors, work on patients and throw water in each other's faces. I think that's, you know, you know, why not? So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with this Erika Jayne person. If you look her up, I think that you would see, you know, she had to have known something. I think that a lot of these wives that are on this show, they all say they don't know anything. And I don't understand why you don't have no other defense. You must know something. Like, you can't not know nothing for 20 years. Xavier University, it's a HBCU. They are currently disenrolling students who have not been vaccinated. You know, I think that what's going on in this country is, you know, the division has got to stop. We've got to stop dividing this country up. We've had it for 4 years. We're back at it again. You know, if you go on Instagram right now, or you go on Facebook, or wherever you go, there's people telling you, you know, get the shot, get the shot. How the unvaccinated are the ones that are making the Delta variant worse. But there's no one saying that the vaccinated can get the vaccinated sick too. There's no one saying for the vaccinated to protect the unvaccinated. There's no one saying, why don't we all just wear masks? There's no mandate for just masks. But they're mandating injections into your arms. You got to be careful with what we're doing. A lot of people are okay with this. A lot of people are joining in, telling people, just get the shot, just get it. When I was bed rested a few weeks ago, I could barely move, I could barely do anything. I worked with some nurses, or some aides, I guess you would call them, who really took care of me. And pretty much I learned from this one lady that she was going to lose her job soon. She said that she didn't want the shot, you know. Here she is taking care of people, quarantining herself, wearing her mask. And her employer is telling her, if you don't get the shot, you're fired. Look at how many millions of people are going to lose their jobs. Why are we not thinking about the other side of things? Just because you got the shot, that means that everyone does? If I wear a mask, I quarantine, I don't do much interactions with people. I clean my hands. I do all the right things. Why would you mandate me? Why won't we look at the science, right? You keep saying, look at the science. The science is to stop spreading. That's how you stop the spread, with a mask, with protecting your eyes from anyone who doesn't wear a mask and they're spreading the droplets, or, you know, all over the place, which they said back when COVID started, you know, the droplets go 20 feet. Here we are just walking around with our eyes open with nothing over our eyes. So we got masks on, or some people don't have a mask on. Some people have the mask under their nose, breathing out the droplets. And we're just telling people that the only way to stop this is to get a shot. That's not the only way. It's just the easiest way. And then you're going after people's jobs. 30 million people last year from the coronavirus didn't have a job. The housing moratorium, it ended. Now you're going to have people getting kicked out of their apartments, their homes. Joe Biden sleep. We had this cloud, this black cloud of Afghanistan going on. And the voting rights are being still taken away and attacked. We've really got to wake up and see what's really going on. Because the issue at hand is, if everyone's mandated to take a shot, what's next? If your job can fire you because you don't take a shot, even though you do the right things, you can't think about, or you cannot not think about what's next. Our rights as voting are being attacked right now all around the country, even though many people around the country, many politicians and whatnot said nothing happened in the election, that the election wasn't rigged, yet they're trying to change the laws. It's a slippery slope. And the saddest part is they're turning Americans on Americans. And we're fighting each other over who's vaccinated and who's not. Again, the vaccinated can get the vaccinated sick. Vaccinated people are dying from the coronavirus. That's true. It's not a lie. It's not a myth. It's not me trying to anti-vax. But there are some people who don't have to. You said, Joe, all we need is 75% at one point, and then it went to 80%. So why are we pushing this thing out there? Anti-vaxxers are killing people. No, we're not. Why don't you mandate masks around this country? If we have an issue with a virus, why are we not wearing masks? Why are we not protecting each other? These students at Xavier University, why don't they have a choice of going to school online? You're just going to disenroll people who are trying to get back to the regular part of life? Just disenroll. No option. You didn't take the shot, you're out. Meanwhile, Trump is playing golf in Mar-a-Lago. The man who told us not to wear masks, or the man who said that the hoax was going around and that coronavirus would go away by summer, who took the vaccine shot in private, the one who politicized the mask, not in jail. But now the unvaccinated are the ones. We've got to do better. We can't let these people turn us on to each other, because that's all that happens. All these distractions. We're being distracted while our rights are being taken away. It's been 16 years since Hurricane Katrina struck. I watched When the Levees Broke probably about 2 weeks ago, and I was really affected by it. I didn't want to watch it for so long. I've had that in my watch list for years. It's just a lot, as a black person, to see black people go through so much trauma all the time. It's just a lot. And I don't think that if you're listening to this, if you're white or some other descent or nationality, I don't think you have to see the trauma that black people have to go through all the time, right? If you're Puerto Rican, you don't see Puerto Rican trauma all the time. You may live in the hood, and there may be things that go on, but you don't get to see your people go through things all the time. And I even asked my mom, did she ever watch it or want to see it? And she said, no, I can't see that kind of stuff. There's a lot of people like that who are tired of seeing black people in traumatic situations. And for a while, I didn't want to see it either. Spike Lee, one of the greatest directors ever, but I didn't want to watch it. And I tell you, 20 minutes in, it was affecting me. But instead of making it just affect me, I turned it into a part of this show. Started writing notes about it because I wanted to talk about it more. Hurricane Katrina killed 2,000 people, over 2,000 people. That's the people we know about. Destroyed 100,000 homes. It's been 16 years. There's a Category 4 hurricane out right now called Hurricane Ida. And again, the power is out. Again, the streets are flooded. There's been nothing that changed. New Orleans is a hot spot. New Orleans is the debauchery capital of the world, besides Amsterdam. We put no money into our country anymore. Around the world, we're laughed at. Our airports are terrible, our roads are terrible, our infrastructure is terrible, and then we don't even protect our cities. It's not just because the black people live in the lower, it could be, when you watch When the Levees Broke, apparently there was a bomb that people think was placed. And it looks like it. Because there was a bombing years before that in a hurricane in New Orleans, where they did bomb the levees. So a lot of people, how could you not think that? A lot of people feel like, it was about gentrification, blowing up the levees. If, that really happened, but a lot of people feel that way. And watching this documentary, you can get why and see why. But it's been 16 years and nothing's changed. There was no wall built. You know, in Israel, they have an iron dome where if you shoot missiles, their fucking dome thing shoots the missiles down. And in the greatest country in the world, we couldn't protect New Orleans again. There were bodies floating everywhere. Bodies everywhere during Hurricane Katrina. Kids just dead in the streets. Kids without parents walking. I mean, if you see that documentary, you are, it's horrible. You could never think this is America. And then you look at what's going on now, yeah, I mean, it's a hurricane. But then you got people who say, why don't they just leave? Leave and go where? If you're listening to this, you may be, a 500-aire. How much money you got to just evacuate? You know how much money it costs to evacuate? Drive to a whole other place, get a hotel room for days upon days, not get a discount on gas, not get a discount on food, not get a discount on nothing, but just get out. There are people without cars. What do? No one's making money in this country. People working 3, 4, 5 jobs, working Uber and Lyft, Uber Eats, Drizzly. And you just tell people to leave, evacuate. Why didn't they leave? They should have just left. We got to take care of our people, man. And we could overturn them. We did it in Georgia. But the people you got to get out and vote. You have to, even though voting is looked at this and that, even though they're trying their best to change the rules and lie and do what they do, you still got to do it. This is the only thing we have besides our voice. And besides, just attacking the Capitol like they did on January 6th. I feel horrible for these people. To have to go through this again. And just, nothing's changed. That's all that happens. Every time it happens, a hurricane in this area, it's just like, oh, well, all right, we're back. Start over again. How many times can you start over? When will we take care of what's going on here? Joe Biden made sure that the terrorists paid for killing 13 servicemen in Afghanistan. And I get it. I appreciate it. I think we take care of America, We shouldn't be in Afghanistan. We shouldn't be in all these countries doing what we do, spending $200 million a day on Afghanistan for 20 years, while our homeless are on the street begging, while, our vets are in the street begging. You got buildings around this country where no one's living in or taking up comfort in, that $200 million a day on a war for 20 years? You do the math. And you got nothing to take care of this country? To take care of reparations? To heal this country? There's nothing that no one can do. They won't even give us a 3% tax raise on corporations who don't pay no taxes so we can get a monthly stimulus. You know we can get that? 3% tax on Amazon and Google. I know I'm going on a little rant. But who's going to tell you the truth? Who's going to ask the questions for you? I mean, if you're not asking them already, there's got to be more for us because we deserve more. We put a lot of work into this country. And every day we see where we're not being taken care of. I have no further questions.